One of the things I was really wondering about the Atlanta Falcons in the weeks and months leading up to the 2023 NFL Draft was, are they going to be desperate for a quarterback? Are they going to be one of those potentially very motivated buyers like we found out inevitably their division rival, the Carolina Panthers, were? Were they really serious about rolling into 2023 with Desmond Ridder? Or maybe that's just a smokescreen that they're going to end up going with Taylor Heineke. Like, do they really envision Desmond Ridder being the long-term answer at quarterback? Is that really possible? Are they going to take this draft position they have, another top 10 pick, and pass on a quarterback yet again, and then wonder where everything went wrong? Interesting question. Well, we ultimately found our answer here because, yeah, apparently so. They seem set on giving Desmond Ridder a chance in 2023. And whatever, fine. It's their prerogative. But if you're going to do that, then you better invest in the talent around the young quarterback. You don't be like the Patriots and spend your first 3 picks on the defensive side of the ball when you clearly have a need for offensive playmakers and you've got a young quarterback that needs to show that he can do it and establish that he can do it. And the way to do that is by helping him, and then you don't fucking help him like the Patriots. The Falcons, at least, seem to be dedicated with an offensive-minded head coach in Arthur Smith, young quarterback. Like, they've not only added offensive weapons in the draft the past couple of years in the first round, and Kyle Pitts and Drake London, both top 10 picks, mind you. Pitts was the top 5 pick, for Christ's sake. They did it again here in 2023. They spent the 8th overall pick on a running back in Bijan Robinson. And this is one of these weird things for me, and admittedly as a Bears fan, I kind of struggle with it. Because if there are two positions that I could have a tendency to overvalue because of the history and lineage of my favorite team, it's running back and middle linebacker. No organization in NFL history has done those 2 positions better, period. You can take any other team, it don't fucking matter. We all know that. So I can look at these positions and say, hey, like, I got to look past my personal biases to say, is it really a good idea to be taking a running back in the top 10 here? And, your perspective on this pick probably depends on your opinion on that. If you're not a running back in round 1 is okay type of person, or a running back in the top 10 is okay type of person, then this pick was terrible. If you feel like, hey, if this guy can come in from day 1 and be a high-level contributor, then it makes sense, then it's not so bad, then I can justify it, then this pick might not be so bad. But the reality is the history of running backs in the top 10 is kind of mixed. You look at Todd Gurley in 2015, he had a couple of great years, but his career was over by the time he was 26. Ezekiel Elliott in 2016, you look back and you say, Zeke came into the league kind of eaten and then kind of, nibbled a little bit more. And was he really 41 picks better in that draft than Derrick Henry? Fair question, right? Certainly not. Certainly not. Leonard Fournette and Christian McCaffrey were picked 4th and 8th overall, respectively, in 2017. Fournette only had 2,000-yard seasons in his career so far, and he hasn't been with the Jaguars in a few years, the team that took him 4th overall. And you look at that draft and you say, Dalvin Cook was a 2nd-round pick. Joe Mixon was a 2nd-round pick. Alvin Kamara was a 3rd-round pick. Was it really worth taking those guys in the top 10? And then you look at 2018 with Saquon Barkley. Was he really 33 picks better than Nick Chubb? Yeah. For those that say the value isn't there to take a running back in round 1, you use some of the recent history, it kind of supports their argument. Now, I think based off of perspective, based off of situation, when you get into the second half of round 1, for a team that really needs an impact player, a difference maker, a 3-down back, it's much more justifiable than at that point. But top 10, that dude better be damn all-pro Hall of Fame level. And I don't think Bijan Robinson was that. I think he's a really good prospect. He was a top 10 to 12 prospect in this draft for me, but I had Jahmyr Gibbs ahead of him, personally. So, at least you say this. You can't use the Desmond Ridder doesn't have weapons excuse when he has Kyle Pitts, Drake London, and now you've added Bijan Robinson into the backfield. And they better hope it works. But for me here, they probably, I feel like, could have peeled back a couple of spots and maybe taken him. I gave him a D+ because I thought they took running back 2 in this draft. you look at everything and you say the history of taking running backs in the top 10 recently is not great. There's going to be a running back or a couple of running backs that end up having better careers than Robinson. It just wasn't a very logical way to approach the draft. I'll give them this, though, on day 2. They focused on the trenches, which they badly needed to do on both sides of the ball. Matthew Bergeron could play outside at tackle or kick inside to guard. They gave up, pick 110 in round 4 to move up 6 slots to go get him, but I can understand that because especially where the way the draft was falling, Bergeron might not have made it to him. So giving up 110 doesn't kill you to go up and make sure you get your guy at that place. And then Zach Harrison on the defensive line. He should be a base end starter, I think, pretty quickly. He might not be a stud, but he should be a solid starter in the league for a number of years. So I gave him like a C grade for day 2. And I think I look at the Falcons in day 3, and this is a really good example of you can use draft picks to improve your team in a variety of different ways. I love their pick in the 4th round of Clark Phillips III. I think he could be absolutely a stud nickel corner. Steal at pick 113, in my opinion, with his instincts, with those ball skills. Then they traded pick 159 to the Lions to get Jeff Okudah. And this was a guy a few years back was a top 3 pick. There's a reason he's getting traded because he's not that level of talent. Certainly hasn't manifested that way. But when you're the Falcons, you're talking about a guy that was a former top 3 pick I can acquire with a 5th round pick. I want to do that. I'll smash that all fucking day. That's fantastic. Pick 186 for them was part of the Julio Jones trade, which helped them land picks in round 2 and round 4 in last year's draft. Not surprisingly, they traded pick 245 for Jonnu Smith, Arthur Smith connection there, but a 7th round pick for a contributor at tight end. And you look at their actual 7th round picks, it doesn't feel like either one of them are very likely to make much of a splash or an impact, maybe some practice squad, draft and stash type of guys. But you look at it, Clark Phillips can be a nickel starter year 1 for them. Okudah, you're swinging for upside there. You can trading a 7th rounder for a role player in Jonnu Smith, just fine. At least you feel like you can get something out of him, where a lot of guys you take in round 7, you absolutely will not. So at that point, I'm actually a pretty big fan of taking 6th, 7th round picks and trading them for established role players and veterans, because you're more likely to get value out of that 6th or 7th round pick that way than actually utilizing it on a player. So I gave the Falcons a B grade for day 3 because I love the Clark Phillips pick. Love them trading and taking the chance for Okudah, trading away a 7th for Jonnu Smith. I thought that was good work for them. When I look at this draft overall, if Bijan comes in and dominates, it doesn't look too bad. It doesn't. If Bergeron and Harrison are year 1 starters, this draft looks even better. And that's what it comes down to, is you've given yet another weapon and more offensive line protection for Desmond Ridder. He better show he can be the guy. Otherwise, Arthur Smith's going to be fired at the end of the year. And the Falcons are going to be hoping to God they were bad enough in 2023 to be able to get a top QB in 2024.